Good afternoon and welcome to this week's edition of Entrepreneurship Matters. My name is Alicia Wilson. I'm Vice President for Economic Development for Johns Hopkins University and Johns Hopkins Health System. It is my pleasure to welcome you to an enlightening as well as electric conversation between two of the foremost leaders in the IT space, Brenda Kwateng and Shanda Wilson, who are you're going to become alive hearing about their businesses and their journey. And so let me set us up. Let me start the conversation, give you their amazing bios, and then we're going to get right into the conversation. We know that successful entrepreneurs, successful businesses are not built in a day. It takes multiple failures, a lot of hard work, tons of grit to make it happen. And these two women are no different. They are leaders in the IT consulting space. So if you need a consult, everyone has IT needs, these are two women that you need to have in your phone and in your network. Let me give their bios and then we're going to go right into the conversation because their journeys are so inspiring. Let me first start with Shanda Wilson. We might think we're cousins. We tried to do that family tree thing in the pre-show, but so Shanda's technical expertise is focused on software development, big data, and cloud solutions, and managing agile delivery teams. In 2017, Shanda founded InShift, a digital services firm located in Washington, D.C. InShift's primary focus is to align technology with vision to provide greater transformative solutions for the Department of Defense and the United States federal government. As a growing startup, and I mean growing, you're going to hear about that. I've done my research, Shanda. InShift serves not only as an expert DoD advisor, but also as a committed contributor to the community around us, which is a fundamental pillar baked into InShift's core values. Welcome, Shanda. So glad to have you on today. And next, Brenda Kwateng has over 20 years of experience in project program management, leadership development, coaching, and software transformation. She has utilized a number of different development methodologies, including waterfall, earned value, and scaled agile framework, and Scrum managing healthcare programs, IT applications, and telecommunication projects. She has served a number of state agencies and private industry partners, State of Maryland, Department of Information Technology, Department of Human Services, Aged Care, the Federal Employee Operations Center, Blue Cross Blue Shield. I mean, she has a Rolodex. Care First, University of Maryland Medical System, BGE, and American Electric Power. Her ability to engage and create a positive environment has allowed her to develop win-win solutions that meet her clients' needs and strive to beat their expectations. So welcome, Brenda, as well to the conversation. And let me start by asking both of you, what inspired you to be entrepreneurs? And so I'll start with Brenda and then Shanda.
Okay. Thank you so much, Alicia. I'm so excited to be here today. This is a conversation that I'm passionate about because I know as much as I had an opportunity to grow my own business, that there's space for many, many others to get in there and do their own thing too. So I worked as a corporate professional for a number of years and really have always had a desire to start and have my own business. And I reached a point in 2016 where I realized I was like, if I'm going to do it, I need to do it now. And so took the chance, was able to go ahead and get my first contract prior to even, just forming the company. And I was like, I'm off to the races. And it was just a really smooth transition. Definitely having a strong work performance and building a strong network to me are really important in regards to when you look at growing yourself, at least in the IT business and around contracting. Shanda?
Just starting. Shanda?
Sure. My drive for being an entrepreneur started really early. When I was a little girl, I always had a way that I was running a business, from selling snow cones to running concession stands. I always had a little business somewhere in the mix. So entrepreneurship was always in the back of my mind. And similar to what Brenda mentioned, after working corporate jobs for a while and taking on engineering jobs, I knew the next level for me would be to go ahead and take that leap and go ahead and take the leap to go become an entrepreneur. So here we are with InShift now, started in 2017. And really my goal there was just to create opportunities for other people and build the type of business environment that I would love to work in. So that's kind of what inspired me to go ahead and take that leap to become an entrepreneur.
It's so interesting. But I mean, I love how you talk about it as being a leap into entrepreneurship. And we've heard that so many times on Entrepreneurship Matters from entrepreneurs in many different fields. So that leads me to this next question, which is, how did you take the leap? So you have knowledge, skills, and ability. You have jobs, but then you stop your job and you become an owner. So take us through that process. And don't worry, I will take down notes because I'm going to make sure that everyone watching gets what you say and really snackable notes. But tell us, how did you go? And I'll start with Shanda and then Brenda. How did you go from, I have my skills and abilities, I have a desire, but start a business?
Right. So I will say this. I was at a performance review and it was a great performance review. All of that, everything went well. But as I was sitting there, I was like, I think this is going to be the last one. I think this is it. And that gave me the fuel to say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and do this on my own. And this kind of naturally happened. I said, okay, well, found a contract, similar to what Brenda mentioned, and just went ahead and started working on that contract as a technical advisor. That technical advisory work really helped me understand a lot of the technical gaps and a lot of technical problems that needed to be solved. And it really helped craft that business model for what my business would be. So taking the leap was just as simple as saying, hey, I'm going to close this door and go ahead and do this on my own. So that was the leap. That was the day.
That was the day. Okay, so the performance review sparked it. You found a contract. And so as a technical advisor, were you the lead on the contract or you were amongst a whole host of people on the contract?
Yeah, I was reporting directly to our organization lead. And so whenever we would have technical issues that needed some solution gathering around it, I advised on ways to go forward on what to do and what may be a possible solution. So that's kind of where it all started. That's where InShift started, as advisory and consulting.
Excellent. And then you crafted a business model and then took off. Because you are definitely a rocket ship. And as well as Brenda, you both are growing exponential growth. How about you, Brenda? You have your great corporate job. You then say, I'm going to start. What were the steps you went through?
I think the realization that I was working too hard to build somebody else's dream and not having the freedom to be able to kind of craft my own path. In addition to financially, the compensation didn't make any sense. I think a lot of times we find ourselves, working the work week is 40 hours, but you're working 60 to 70. And it's like, why? Like, you're doing it because you want to perform well, and you're doing it because you know that this unfortunately is what it's going to take to do the job well. But then you realize, why am I building somebody else? And so I took that opportunity, came off a great project, but had people coming to me asking, well, do you do your own thing? Like, do you, have you thought about it? And I was like, I need to think about it. I need to really take the leap and say, you know what, trust myself, trust what I've done, how I've done it, and be able to perform and grow my own business. It was, I think, at the end of 2016, I took the leap and I said, okay, I'm going to find a contract. I'm going to get going. And 3 months later, I had a contract and we're off to the races.
No, I love your vision and your focus on, like, how am I going to take this leap? It's going to be that contract. The first contract is going to allow me to know. I love how you said realization that you're working too hard to build someone else's dream. And then took off, started working on different contracts and then built the confidence to really then go out on your own and trusted yourself to be able to do that. Beautifully stated. And I know there are many people watching who are saying, you know what, I just had my performance review, or I'm sitting here like realizing I should be starting out on my own, but really important points that you just made. I'd love to get to a question that y'all are getting rocket ships on Facebook. So let me also tell people how they can engage in the conversation. You may put your comments in the chat on Zoom if you're in Zoom with us. You may also put them in Facebook in the chat, and I will receive those. If you're listening on the phone, you can text them in 22333, type JHUWL in the message, and I'll get all of those questions and weave them into the conversation. But this question was, around what made you confident in your professional pivots. Because Shanda, you had many performance reviews. Brenda, I'm sure that moment, like I'm building something for someone else, that wasn't the first moment. Probably it was like the third or the fourth. So what gave you the confidence to make that professional pivot? Do you think was the critical moment? And Shanda and then Brenda?
Sure. I believe what gave me the confidence was mentorship. That gave me the confidence, betting on yourself, knowing that you can do the work, you have what it takes to understand the technical pieces behind what you're trying to do. But having good mentors and good leaders and other entrepreneurs to kind of show you the ropes of what they're experiencing and some of the things that they undergo as a business owner. But the confidence really came from really talking to other, like I said, entrepreneurs, and definitely mentorship, and also just believing in myself. And that helped build up my self-confidence to know that I could do it.
I love that mentorship gave you the confidence. Beautifully said. How about you, Brenda? What gave you the confidence in your professional career?
I think for me, it was definitely a more around time in the field. I think there was an evolution into gaining the mentorship because that better fueled my growth. But I had, I think, a really clear and strong vision of where and what I wanted my life to be, and knowing what I had done and seeing your track record. I think sometimes, we look at our resume and just kind of filter it, like puff it up and then send it out to someone, but taking the time to really look and see what you've accomplished and taking that breath in to acknowledge how and what you've done, to then be able to say, is this a skill set? Is this a resume of somebody that I would want to work for, or what I would want to have work or do this for me? And understanding that you have that power, and then now taking it and putting it out there and saying, okay, let me go ahead and submit on this contract. Let me bid on this work. And, you can't reach anything if you don't try. And so at least if you put it out there, even if you get a no, maybe then it's a question to the person you've submitted to of how do I adjust? But allowing yourself, giving yourself the grace to say, I've done this, let me go ahead and see if I can prove that to the rest of the world.
I love how you stated that, because, and at least a question we just received in on text, which is, you both talked about mentorship. What is your experience with mentorship? Like, when did you gain them? I know some people think like there's like this place where like these mentors running around, and they're like, you get to pick one. It's like, doesn't happen that way. I'm telling you, it doesn't happen. But they want to know what's been your experience, and then how did it influence you over the course of your professional journey or entrepreneurship journey, and how does it impact you even now? So you can talk a little bit about that, Shanda, and then Brenda.
Sure. Mentorship has always been a strong part of my career. So it's not like you just go out and, like you said, there's not like a group of mentors and just pick. Mentorship just kind of comes through relationship building and through getting to know others in your particular field. And so if you see someone doing something that you're interested in doing, just always feel free to jump in and say, hey, this can be an informal mentor. This could be someone who could be my official mentor. But the way it worked is, a lot of times those mentors can open doors for you. They can invite you to have a seat at the table to be able to see some of the ins and outs of what happened in business every day. Additionally, I was fortunate enough to form additional mentorship through a program called Hutch, which is being sponsored by Fearless, which is an incubator startup program.
I know, I see them on the Fearless team is on watching you. I see them.
Hey. But they really provided us with great mentorship and great leadership to give us the ropes and tell us what it takes to be able to run a business. So that was a huge impact for me and my company, personally and professionally, as well as put us around additional entrepreneurs who are going through the exact same thing. So we all mentor each other. We take mentorship from people who have learned the lessons, and they can pass those lessons down to us so that we don't make the same mistakes or learn from the things that they've done.
No, that's great. Great points. Like, I had someone say the mentor has paid the price so that you don't have to pay the same price. You can buy different things. Different mistakes, different challenge, different part of your journey. How about you, Brenda? What's been your mentorship journey?
So it's a little bit different. I actually approached it not only just from a mentorship around your business, but mentorship and coaching for myself. And because I feel like a lot of how you craft your business, a lot of how you craft the environment and culture of what you're growing has a lot to do with who you are. And so I had actually engaged in coaching with an amazing coach from Core Concepts, who not only helped me through some huge life changes I was going through, but then also began to help me kind of craft out how I wanted to grow the business and what that business looked like. And then in the evolution of that, just in terms of people that I worked with, people that I came in contact with, people that had really were doing what I wanted to do and were open to that conversation. And so having a number of different individuals that have different perspectives about your business or your industry to help you kind of better navigate and introduce you to folks. I would say the one thing that was really key in regards to my development, I had an opportunity to be part of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program.
You're a proud alum, a proud
alum, and I'm so thankful. Yeah, I'm so thankful every day in regards to not only the people that I met within my cohort, but I've had a chance to then meet in other cohorts and then talk to other people in different leadership programs around the state and even in the community to see, you know, what they've learned, who they've kind of came in contact with, and building your network that way. So I would definitely say this. To me, there's a personal development piece to it, but then beyond that, look and see those programs and things that are out there that you can engage into.
Yeah, you both just mentioned two amazing ones: Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program, the Shanda Hutch, that initiative, both really powerful. This question came in from, don't worry, everyone, I'm going to get to all of your questions, so keep putting them in the chat, keep putting them on Facebook. Y'all are getting high fives. People are just amening some of the things you're talking about, the value of mentorship and what you do. Let me ask this question, which goes to the starting of your business and the building of your business, which is, what was it like taking on your first client, negotiating your first client contract? Can you describe that for folks who are like, you know what, I'm going to get my first contract and then I'm going to launch? What can you take us back to what that felt like? Brenda, I'll start with you and then Shanda.
Sure. So in engaging in that first contract, it was not only conversation in terms of the terms of the contract, but then looking at financially what my goals were and where I needed to go. I knew that obviously when you're starting any major contract, there's generally a delay in payment. So putting myself in a position where I'm a mom of 3 kids. And so therefore I wanted to make sure obviously that they didn't go through any trauma because I started a business. So I was able to, I actually leveraged something that just growing and learning, I leveraged an insurance policy. I realized that this particular policy was not going to work for me. And so I was able to use the cash for that to kind of lay the groundwork to allow me to then be in a position where financially I could wait 60 to 90 days for money to come in, because that's the terms and the process of the contract. So I think the one thing is understanding what's in the contract, making sure that you're fully aware that if you're able to engage with legal counsel, or at least have someone give you, either a mentor give you some guidelines of things you can look for, is really important. And then just being able to map out, you know, financially where you're going to be and how you're going to do that. Because I think the one thing that I think scares people is, especially if you're working for someone and there's a consistency around that paycheck. And then you're now going through a period where you start up your business and you may go a period without that paycheck. How do I balance across that? What do I do? And so asking yourself those questions and being able to put an answer in place so you have some confidence and also some peace of mind in what you're doing will help you then really get working on what you're supposed to be doing in that contract versus the challenge of, okay, will I pay this? Can I pay the mortgage? Da, 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 da. So, yeah.
I love how you stated you really planned so that your children wouldn't go through trauma as a part of you starting your business. And a lot of people don't realize the family's along for the ride. And so I think that thoughtfulness is really instructive to those who are planning to start their business. I thought that was a really, really great point. Shanda, how about you? What was that first contract? How did it feel? Both of y'all are landing some contracts. So loved it. Everyone wants to know about, like, what was it like for the first?
Yeah, for the first contract, you know, you identify a gap, right? And you identify that gap. And if it's a gap that you can fill as yourself, as your business, you pitch that solution to filling that gap that's identified. So the first contract was really addressing like a gap that I had seen that my company could jump in and solve problems for. And so, you know, similar to what Brenda mentioned earlier, you go through the contractual language. You try to understand what you're really getting into, understanding, negotiating those rates, negotiating the time that you're going to spend on solving those problems that you're pitching yourself out on. And additionally, same, being prepared to take that 60 to 90 day wait financially. And it's really that opportunity that really gleams that says, okay, I'm really betting on myself here for this first contract. I'm really, truly betting on myself because I'm willing to risk this, you know, this fear of, you know, maybe I won't be able to do this or that because it does have that delay in funding. And so overall, first contract is a 100% bet on yourself. And it's a 100% risk too, but go ahead and take it. And that's exactly how it feels. But once you get in there, you start learning the ropes and you start becoming better for the next contract. So
yeah,
that's how it went.
Yeah, no, and you made a good point that I want to parlays into a question that was put on Facebook, which is around the capital raise and the raising the funding for your business. And of course, you all both were fortunate that you had contracts almost immediately when you started, but I'm guessing over time you've had to raise money. So can you talk about that for other folks who are watching? Like, how did you raise funding for your business? And are you still trying to raise money for your business? How do you deal with that, those financial realities? So Brendan and Shanda?
So I was fortunate in terms of the way that I set up my model. I've not been really dependent on raising outside funds. So it's just in terms of how I financially just put the model together and ensuring that I have reserves set aside. So when I do see or know that I'm going to anticipate growth, I have it. I know that at least I have been approached now because of through the Goldman Sachs program, actually, and even through my contacts with the Baltimore City Chamber, which I'm a part of, like getting information and lenders coming to you and providing you that information. But then also, I think it's a lot to do with getting your ducks in a row and understanding what they're looking for too, because as much as they say, especially as you know, we as women of color have a hard time finding and getting money, but it's also being prepared once we get that money. So prepared, to receive it and know that what we need to look like in terms of on paper, and then also having a plan of what we're going to do with that money. And so I've been in situations where I've received great funding, but I've held on it because I'm like, until I have a clear plan, I don't like to play with my money. That's just who I am. So it allows me to then to structure my growth accordingly. So yeah.
Excellent. How about you, Shanda? How have you done a capital raise?
Similar situation, just a lot of prep work prior to starting out, having that prep work so that you have funds in your reserve saved to go ahead and make that jump. But very similar, we operate on contracts and we're just very fiscally, very, very tight whenever it comes to spending. And so we always try to keep a reserve so that we have enough, if everything goes left, that we'll still be standing. And so that means that we have to keep overhead low. That may mean that, you know, we may not have this beautiful office space right now, but we're building our business right now through those reserves to be able to get there. And so that's pretty much how we do it too. Same here, just being very tight about our money.
Yeah, no. And someone asked this question based on your comment, Brenda, when you mentioned how when you were making plans so that your family wouldn't feel the transition and becoming an entrepreneur. And this is a question for both of you, but I'll start with you, Brenda. How did your family and friends respond to you becoming an entrepreneur?
I guess they responded relatively well. I mean, part of it is once you become an entrepreneur, a lot of things, especially with, and it may sound really mean, but for people who haven't done it before to then provide commentary seems out of place. I mean, to be honest. So like if I have like of the friends that I had that were in business, I said what I was doing, explained, they're like, cool, it makes sense. But sometimes people that have never been in business before, it's such a foreign concept that there's a lot of hesitation. But I'll say most of them were supportive of me in general sense, because they knew how much and how long I'd been working and some of the
Yeah.
hours and some of the experiences that I had. For example, one of the healthcare organizations, one of the particular rollouts that we did was always New Year's Eve at midnight. And so literally I'm on a laptop from 10:30, 11 through to 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning every New Year's Eve. And so those kind of like people knowing that about me were like, yeah, you need a change. So it wasn't as if to say, oh, and the change could have been another career or another job, but it was, you've been doing this. So if you were going to do something else, hopefully at least gives you your New Year's back, which it did. So but yeah, a part of it is, it leads back to the other question around confidence. As much as your friends and family may have some level of feeling or some level of not necessarily comfort in what you're doing, you have to have the confidence then, and you have to be secure enough in yourself that you know that your plan is going to work and you're going to pull it and go ahead and go through with it. So yeah.
Excellent. Shanda, how about you? What did your friends and family say?
Everyone was super excited. It's something that has been on my mind and something I always wanted to do ever since I was a little girl. So it was really a natural progression. However, working at these corporations and working at these companies that are successful in themselves provides that safety of knowing, okay, well, I will be getting paid in the next 2 weeks. I will be getting paid, so the safety is there. So it was definitely raised that, I should take that into consideration too, prior to starting my own business. And so overall, very positive support, and it's still that way to this day, which I'm grateful for.
Yeah, and I think a byproduct to what I heard as a theme, as a ribbon between both of you, is you had developed an expertise that was marketable, and your friends and your family knew it, and they knew just under the right circumstances you could go out on your own and become the mega IT businesses that you are. Claiming it for you. You're going to be on the international stage, not just the American stage. Let me ask you this, which it came in through text for us. How have your goals or your mission statement or your strategic plan evolved since starting your business? Start with Brenda.
Okay. I will say the pandemic. I will say that if you were in business and you didn't have some level of pivot, I would be very surprised, but that was a lot to do with it. But I think it was more of a natural progression, because I knew I wanted the organization to grow, and I knew that I had to look at other means and options in regards to doing that. So yeah, definitely the goals have changed. They've gotten bigger. They've gotten a little bit more detailed, and they've also, I think, made us a better organization, being able to kind of weather the storm through the pandemic and helping resources and helping clients make those adjustments through that has really kind of strengthened us to understand how really good we are at this and how we can further evolve. But I think there's an ability, or should at least take the time that even with your goals and your strategic vision, at least once to twice, if not 4 times a year, revisit them, because the environment changes, your organization will change, and even within the industry, things may change where you need to ensure that you're in line with it, or if you need to make an adjustment, you can do so, and you can do so seamlessly so that you allow yourself to grow and evolve as you envision yourself to do. So.
Yeah, absolutely. How about Shannon? What have you thought about this?
Yeah, so ours took an approach of, whenever we first got started, we were just going to provide all IT services, all of them, every single one. We just wanted to go find the work. Wherever the contract, we want to do that. But it starts to change whenever you see, okay, we need to create niche areas that we provide services for. Instead of doing everything, we're going to stick with 3 focus areas, and we're going to be the best at it. And so that mission statement changes regularly whenever you've down selected all your services down to 3.
Yeah.
It changes because you want to see what else you can add to DevOps. You want to see what else other services and tools and certifications and ways that you can market data science. And so that is something that, thanks to Hutch, we review our mission statements pretty regularly. And every time I go and look back, it's different every single time. It's never the same. Something's going to change as you learn and as you provide services to add or take away from your mission and your strategic plan.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love how you both talked about the pivot that COVID presented, also just building it into sort of your culture and a part of your work plans. Someone asked this question really pointedly, which is, I just want to go back for a minute and then go forward. But when you received your first contract, was that a government contract? And did you win it on your own, or were you a part of, did you team with someone? Brenda, was that a government contract, or did you team with someone?
So it was a pseudo government contract.
Okay.
I did win it on my own, but it was for an agency that supplied services to federal employees. So it was a smaller contract, so it wasn't as if that it was a major award, but it was our first one that really kind of got our resources started. We went from there.
Oh, great. Shanda, how about you?
Same. Mine was a federal government contract, and I went at it at my own as well, and started out as a 1099, providing services there first, and then kind of flipping over into providing services as a company. But the first one was definitely federal.
Absolutely. And so that leads to this next question that we received on Facebook, which is, you had your first contract. You told us how you felt, the joy, pure excitement. But the question is, how did you go about building your clientele? So you always have to start with one, but you both don't have one client. You have multiple clients. So how did you go about building the book of business, the clientele that now come to you often? Brenda, how did you do that, and Shanda?
It was relationships, I think, more so than anything else. Relationships, and then working with people in conjunction, finding a common interest, looking and seeing if they had a need that you could fill or I could fill, and going from there. I think the one thing that's kind of interesting about the contracting world, especially with the state and federal, state is definitely numbers and bid driven, which a lot of times can be really tiring in regards for a new business. But around the federal side, it's really around, relationships and your performance. And I'm sure Shanda's going to speak to the fact that a lot of work you can't go after unless you have a past performance. And so you've got to network with someone else as their sub, or even as a 1099, putting a resource on a contract to them, build that confidence for them to give you more work, for you to have that to now go to that particular agency to say, yes, we're in a position where we can meet your need. Because from the client side, they don't want to be put in a position where somebody's come to work for them and they can't perform the work that's been asked of them. I think private sector is obviously a little different of a perspective, but at least from the federal and state contracting side, I would say that much.
Yeah. How about you? What do you have to add, Shanda, on that point?
Right. So I believe relationships through and through.
Sure.
That is definitely how you find out about new opportunities that you may be able to jump on to provide additional services to help enhance the contract. Also, work performance, without question. Being able to use that past performance and having positive past performance and being able to prove that you can do the work. But with that comes transparency as well. Being transparent about how you handle your work and how you do things, so that it is very clear that the work that you're conducting is really going towards the customer's end goal. So staying transparent throughout that process is really important as well, so that everyone knows whenever they work with you, this is what you're going to get consistently every single time.
And I love how you talk about consistency and people knowing, if I come to Inship, I'm going to get a certain product. If I go to Brenda, I'm going to get a certain product, a certain quality. So important. So that shifts me to talking about no one does it alone. So the question is, how did you approach building your teams and building those who may not be your employees, but also maybe your collaborators? So what are the qualities and things that you look for, and how did you go about building your team? Brenda, I'll start with you and then Shanda.
Okay. I started a little organically. I started with people that I knew and that had worked with people that there were strong references. And so building upon essentially somebody else's past performance or experience with someone else, and then engaging them with my organization. I had some parts of the organization that I choose to kind of keep homegrown and keep very close, because I just, in terms of how I wanted to do it. But again, it's a networking and allowing because your name is on the line, and because you have a brand and you're building consistently with these clients, you want to ensure that you're placing people at these sites or engaging them with working with your clients where you have a confidence. And it's a tough balance between running your company and working in your company. And so the more confidence you have in regards to who's engaging with you, the better off you are. For me, I'm very focused, very controlled. And so I work hard to delegate, but it's something I know I have to do. And so in doing so, I continue to push, continue to gain and engage with services to help my business grow and to help me just further fill out my team roster. So, yeah.
Love it. I love it. Shanda, how about you? How do you go about building your team?
My team roster is first, as I was bringing people on to Unship, it was really organic as well. And it was all foundational. It was trust. And so I knew that the people who were working with my company, and as we built the business, I knew these were people who I could trust. But one of the mottos that I've gone by that I learned at another company that I use here is that we always want to work with really smart people who are very kind. And so we want to carry that out through our company as we deliver technical solutions to others. But the way we built the team was through trust, through relationships. And that's really what's been working for us pretty well.
Excellent. And so I had someone who was thinking about, we have people tuning in from Germany to watch, and they've asked this question, which is about, do you have any advice for them being overseas, being from Baltimore, but wanting to start their business? Are there things that you think about that could be helpful to them that you come across with individuals? I'm guessing the IT space is really global, so you probably do encounter people from all over the world. Any tips that you would give to our listener that posed that question? Brenda, I saw you nodding, and then Shanda.
Sure. So, and depending on if the person is going to be permanently overseas or traveling back and forth, consider a partnership. Consider, working with somebody who's a trusted friend, excuse me, or somebody that you know through your network who could possibly help you build your business while here. Be open to adjust the sleep schedules, because there's a 5 to 6 hour time difference. So think about that. But yeah, I mean, we live in a world where anything is possible. And I've even, began to have engagement with people overseas and in Ghana, where my family is from. So there's an opportunity. You just got to figure out how you best do it. And I think it goes back to what Shanda was saying, working with people that you trust and that you can gain a confidence in. And so if you can do that with someone here, then move forward and do so, or you do something in Germany and provide those services here. I mean, there's a couple of different ways you could go about it.
Absolutely. Shanda, how about you? What advice would you have
for
someone overseas?
Working in tech is everywhere. Everyone needs tech, absolutely everywhere. My advice would be to test the market and see what tech needs are where you are now. So maybe focus on some of the offerings that you can provide that your particular location is really strong in, or actually may have a weakness that you can go in and fill the gap for. But I would try to understand the market and see what's available where you are, and how your business can provide a service to close that gap for them.
Excellent. Someone asked this question, and there's so many tools now out there to help you find contracts, especially government contracts or other contracts, RFPs. But one question that was posed on Facebook was it difficult for you to find contracts with all the contracts that are online? And how do you navigate to find sort of like what's best for you and what may be best for someone else? Brenda and then Shanda, or Shanda, I'll start with you, Shanda, and then Brenda.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. There's a lot of work out there, but it is a lot of information that's out there for the opportunities that are open for proposals. And it's really trying to fine tune where you really fit within all of those opportunities. I will not say that's a cakewalk, but it is something that allows your business to kind of focus on certain areas. Some advice that I got that was really helpful was to find subcontracting opportunities. So maybe where you're working currently, you can look at some of the contracts that already exist where you may be able to provide a subcontract type of service to existing contracts. So that's one good way to get your foot into the door to see how you can get on a contract and then take it from there. You may have created a relationship at that point with that vendor that you're subcontracting to, where you can join a team with them in the future as you bid on future contracts that are coming out. So it's, to me, I think that was my approach, and it worked out well. But you know, at the same time, you really want to get in those opportunities where you can team up with other companies, and that's one way of doing it too.
Yeah, absolutely. How did you do it, Brenda? How did you think about, getting contracts and finding, like, I guess there's a sea of contracts out there. There might be a sea. How did you navigate the sea?
I think it speaks to what Shanda had mentioned earlier in regards to finding your niche. So determining the services that you're offering, and then looking at who wants the services that you're offering. There's, I don't know how many federal agencies that are out there, but one thing that is consistent around the federal agencies is that they provide a forecast in regards to what services they're going to be looking at over the next fiscal year and what is their past performance of spend. You have to do some work. There's some digging involved, but you can even find out, who are the vendors that are on this particular contract or on this particular schedule that you can now network it with to, again, provide those subcontracting services and now get your foot in the door to grow. But I would definitely say look at the forecasting, because you may have a great service offering of, say, IT cloud security services. But if you're going to an organization that is not doing cloud development and they're doing something else, you're going to end up not getting, you won't get any work because they're not looking for it. So, do yourself and your organization a favor and make sure that you're putting the skill set that you want of being marketed and promoted to an organization or agency that's looking for those services, and grow from there.
I love how you put that. And that's extremely helpful to someone thinking about how are they going to bring it all together as they're starting, and how are they going to think about those contracts? Because it is, there are a number of tools. One's called Bloomberg Government. If anybody wanted to know, Bloomberg Government has a catalog of all of the government contracts out there. And it's a great tool to use for yourselves as you think about government contracting. I would love to ask this question, which came in, which is, what's one thing, especially in your industry, that you think people get wrong about entrepreneurship? What's a preconceived notion that people hold and they just get it wrong? Oh no, I said not Uber government, Bloomberg Government. Uber doesn't have government. Yeah, Bloomberg Government. Don't worry, we're going to put it in. Oh, yep. Sorry, we put it in the chat on Facebook and here. I don't even get paid by them, so I don't get an advertisement fee for them. But that's a great tool. But what do you think people get wrong about entrepreneurship? Shanda and Brenda. Oh, Brenda, go ahead. You go first.
Okay. I was going to say, Shanda, you can go ahead. I think, IT is so broad. And when you say you have an IT company and you say what you do, people just think you do everything. And so having to constantly hone them in on no, there's nothing wrong with help desk services, but we don't provide that. That's not what we do. And
Yeah.
just keeping true to what your niche is and knowing that you can grow within your niche. But I think that's one of the generalizations, like, oh, so you have an IT company, so can you go ahead and set up the security? No, I can't. I mean, you don't want me to. That's not where I'm going to be best serving you. Exactly.
Yes.
Like I understand how hackers work. That was a corporate 10, 15 years ago, but it's not my niche. And so I want to serve you best. And I think that's the other thing too about networking, because if you have a strong network, even though if you can't do it, you can refer someone else. That's a beautiful thing. It's an absolutely beautiful thing. So yeah.
Oh, love that. And I'm going to get to a follow-up question on what you just said, because I want to make sure we get to that here. Shanda, how about you? What's one thing people get wrong?
I think one thing people get wrong is, as you step out as an entrepreneur, oh, I'm going to be working for myself. I'm working for myself. I'm setting my own hours. It's not like that. Once you take the leap and you have employees and you have customers, you're always working to make sure that your brand is represented well. You want to make sure your employees are happy. You want to make sure your customer is happy. You want to make sure everything in the back office is running correctly. And, you're never just not working for somebody. You're always going to be working for someone to help, make people happy and engaged. So that's one myth, I think, that is a misunderstanding.
Okay. We have confirmed that Oprah's watching. But I'm going to ask a question before we get to my Oprah question. And then we have some more questions coming in. Don't worry, everyone. I'm going to get to all of your questions. Okay. So Brenda, you said people think you do everything from the front door to the back door when it comes to IT. Tell everybody watching, what is your business? What does your business do? When might someone avail themselves of your services? When might someone connect you with someone who might avail themselves of, because you might not need Brenda's services or Shanda's services, but I hope you connect somebody to them as well. So we're getting everybody in on tell us what is the scope of what you do.
Okay. So there are actually two sides to my business. So the first side I'm going to speak on is the training side. So we provide trainings and certification in agile scaled agile framework, which is a platform and an approach in regards to how somebody does a project. So those services are not only provided to individuals who want to get certifications, but to organizations that are then looking to transform the way they do business. The traditional, for lack of a better word, waterfall method, where there's a extended time in regards to when something is started, when something is determined what you want to build, and then delivered. The agile format allows you to provide incrementally things of value and explanation of what you're doing to your client, so that they have a better comfort level of, yes, I want to go this direction, or no, I don't. The example where the former process of waterfall didn't work is a stealth project where the government took nearly 18 years to build something that was only supposed to take 6 years, and then turned out that it didn't actually work in the first place. So what happens in the agile method, you can actually see incrementally whether it is going to be working, and if it's not, you go the other direction. So that's the training and the certification time. On the transformation or staffing side, we now say, okay, if you're looking to do this, or you're doing this transformation process around whether it's IT, whether it's marketing, whatever you're doing within your organization, we now have staff that can help you with that process. We can either lead it for you, or train you, or coach you so that you can better do it. That's it.
All right, we know now, and don't worry, we put all of your information in the chat. We're going to recap it at the end in the chat on Facebook, and it's going to be on Johns Hopkins website, so you know how to get in contact with both Brenda and Shanda. But Shanda, tell us what's the scope of what you do?
Our scope focuses on data science, software development, and DevOps development as well. So we want to be able to provide our customers with end-to-end software solutions. So from the beginning of setting up infrastructure, that's our DevOps specialty. Being able to look at big ranges of data and large sums of data and be able to allow our customers to create data-driven decision-making we can handle our data. That's where our data science comes in. With our software development, we also want to provide full stack delivery for any sort of tool that you're interested in building for your organization. So we have it covered from software development to infrastructure to actually making sense of the whole data and everything that you have loaded into that environment. So a good customer for us would be someone who's interested in setting up a new environment, something that may be custom, being able to make decisions out of the data that they may currently hold. And that would be our perfect, that's how we could really help.
Excellent, excellent. So now everyone knows when to call, when to refer, both Shanda and Brenda. Let me ask this question because Oprah's watching. I don't want to lose her before the top of the hour. So Oprah is an investor connected to individuals. Almost everybody on here is potentially an investor. Everyone watching, whether we buy your services, we invest in referring you to someone else. We are working in corporations that may, we may come into a meeting and realize, you know what, Brenda and Shanda should be, we should call them to see if they can help us. But how can we all support your businesses, but also businesses like yours, to have them grow, exist, grow, thrive, multiply in our community? So any tips, 3 or 4 tips you have for us? Start with Shanda. Oh, okay, Shanda, you thinking?
Yeah, I was thinking ways to grow is to network with other entrepreneurs who may be in the same sort of IT space that you're in. Whereas what Brenda mentioned earlier, we may not have help desk services, but we may know someone who does provide help desk services, or we may not be in cybersecurity, but we may know someone who does. We can all work together and grow if we create that ecosystem of companies that provide technical solutions, but everyone has their own specific niche. We can all come together and form one way that we can provide a particular service for what someone may need. And I do believe that helps us grow and link by linking each other and reaching out and using our network there.
No, I love what you just said, because you're right. Almost every, I'm a lawyer. I'm still a hard, fast lawyer, but I had a criminal defense attorney on my Rolodex. I had a tax attorney, and we traded business back and forth, and we all ate more pie, as we would say, because we all had more to feed off of. So I think creating communities and also us creating communities for you to collaborate on those things. Great point. Brenda, how about you? Talking to Oprah. She's watching. She wants to know. What?
Thank you, Alicia. So
you're welcome.
So I'd like to say one thing in terms of, before we get into in terms of the collaboration. So every business is a diamond. Every individual is a diamond. They are unique. So a lot of times I think we tend to think that, oh, well, somebody's doing something very similar to me, they're my competition. But you are so unique in who you are and how your business is. And there's not another model like it, that even it may take the step of, instead of being defensive around that other person, network. You could actually work on a contract together. You could look at business together. You could grow together. So in Shanda's conversation, and our businesses are very different, but I could see that when she started talking about in terms of end-to-end software solution and specifically around DevOps. So one of the things that we teach in the transformation process is the ability now, when you've created the software, because essentially what she does is do the work. I am sitting above with the methodology of how you get the work done. And so I can then see now, if I have a client that's now beginning this process and they do DevOps, and that's one of the hardest things for our clients to then understand, is that they have to not look at what they're doing, but how they will be delivering once it's now in production or available for people. Then Shanda's somebody in my Rolodex, I would say, hey, look, we have this new client, they're going through a transformation. They may need some support in learning how to do their DevOps appropriately. Could you step in? So it's networking, but then being open to listen to what other businesses are doing. Don't look, nobody out there is your competition. Everybody can help you in some way, shape, or form, and you can help them. It's just being open enough to understand that and being able to go ahead and say, yeah, let me do that.
Excellent, excellent. And I think just so the comparison is, you're right. Even 10 different lawyers, 10 different IT companies, 10 different bakeries, 10 different, you could name the companies, skincare companies. Everyone's a diamond. And so really figuring out that, beautifully said, really beautifully said. Let me ask you this question. I might get two questions in before we finish. My first comes from Facebook, which is, knowing all that you know now, what advice would you give to your younger self when you were starting your business? Brenda.
You should have gone ahead and done this 20 years beforehand.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Whoa.
You should have, because I started in the game late. I was over 40 when I started. And so, yeah. And so if I had taken the advice of myself and said, knowing what I know, knowing what I know and who I am, I could be a very different organization. But where I am right now is good. And what I learned to get here is great. And so now I actively support and engage people that are younger, that sometimes the normal work-life process can traumatize them, and say, look at your options, build, and look and see what you could do sooner. So. Yeah.
I love how you just gave me chills when you were like, I would have done this 20 years. Whoa, that's a big statement. I mean, that's a big one. No, I love it. Shanda, how about you? What would you say?
Brenda said it spot on.
Start earlier.
I wish I would have started earlier. If I could look back, that's something I wish I would have started maybe 5 years earlier. And, during those times, whenever you aren't starting, you're eventually going to do it. But there's a lot of self-doubt. A lot of people, you need more experience. You need to understand this a little bit better. No. I wish I would have just started earlier, learned back then some of the things I've learned now. And happy where I am now, but I can only imagine where Shift could be had I started a bit sooner. But that, Brenda, you took the words right out of my mouth. That's exactly what I was thinking.
You know what? Both of you talk about starting sooner. I'll tell you, we had 15-year-old entrepreneurs on here who have smoothie businesses, and guess what they said? I would have started sooner. And they're 15. So I think it is in the entrepreneurial blood that you all would have started sooner. But I think that's, people take it to heart. People saying, I'm waiting for this perfect time, this perfect moment, all things to be aligned. And what you're saying and what I'm taking away, and I think the audience is taking away, is to start. This is really, really great. We're getting a lot of love for you all in there. People who have sons and daughters who are trying to get the ball rolling, and they want to be supportive of those young people. And so beautifully said, and beautiful comments that are inspiring to so many. Now I want to give you this last moment. Go ahead.
I was going to say one thing. So I have a 10-year-old, 10-year-old, 15-year-old, and an 18-year-old. And during the pandemic, as much as it was bad, it gave us a chance to reset and think about what they could do. And so I now have my oldest daughter who is doing creative content for Instagram, my middle daughter who started up a lotion company and now is also expanding services, and my son who's now taking his drawing concept and looking at cartoons and YouTube. So take the time to talk to your young people, allow them to understand and see what their passions are, because you shouldn't be in a place, I don't think that we've all worked so hard that we want to have our children working 20, 30 years at something they don't enjoy. But if they can cultivate their passion to something that is a business and entrepreneurial, let's go ahead and they need to get it done. So,
I love what you, no, that's a really great point. What's the lotion company? We're going to plug it right now. What's the
Leah's Lotions.
Leah's Lotion. We're going to look online. We're going to find Leah's Lotions.
Yes, you will. She is on Instagram.
Great. Excellent. Let me ask this one last question. It's got to be short because we're about to run out of time, but what's next? What's the big next thing for you in your companies? What's something we should look out for? Brenda, what should we look out for?
We're going to go global. We're going
global.
We're going global, but we're going global with IT, but we're also going to go global with some real estate too. We're going to look at solving some of those housing problems that are out there, looking at some different options in regards to that. My big passion in doing my business and the real estate is there's such a weight in regards to going to college and college tuition, that kind of thing. And so those ventures are going to be done. And I want to show other women, parents, families, how that if they children choose to do that, they can fund it through that and they don't have to worry about that. So going global and taking care of families.
Excellent, excellent. Shanda, how about you? What are you, what's next?
What's next for us is we want to expand our reach within the federal government. That's next. And we also want to expand and start looking into product development from Shift. So that's something to look forward to just on an intellectual property level as well. So really start getting some IP within Shift as well. So that's what's next for us.
Excellent, excellent. Let me just say this. We want to speak life over what you just spoke. And so like just, we would encourage you. We will be cheering you on. We'll be referring people to you so that your harvest is great. So thank you, thank you, thank you. It's been a pleasure, Brenda, Shanda, to get to interview you and feature you on Entrepreneurship Matters. And everyone you have but for those listening on the phone, let me make sure, shout them out right now. What's your website, your .coms, your ads? How can people get in contact with you, Brenda?
Okay. Ours is www.icscglobal.com. We're at icscglobal.com on Instagram and then also on Facebook.
Excellent. Shanda, how can we get in contact with you?
That's at www.nshift.tech. And we can be reached across all social media platforms with the handle at GoInShift. Excellent,
excellent. Again, thank you both. I hope everyone comes back next week. We are going to be in shops and boutiques. My favorite stuff. I love buying. We're going to have Monisha Phillips of Pandora's Box and Jacqueline Van Croft of Yeet Company. They're going to be on You Do Not Want to Miss. Please follow us on JH Connects on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Email feedback to jhconnects@jhu.edu. We want to thank our partners, Johns Hopkins University, Johns Hopkins Health System, Hopkins Local, the Mayor's Office of Small Minority Women-Owned Business, the Warnock Foundation, Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program, and Bloomberg Philanthropies. Thank you, Shanda. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, team in the background, for all